works now. Good now. Access. Wait a second. Stop one since. Awesome. Away. Good now. Are we good? Yes. Right. Just going to stick that on mute in the background there. And what's up, guys? TSI Dominator from the Glitch Hunters here again. And you may be a bit surprised and a bit confused as to the fact that we are here in Alice Madness Returns again. Because we've established that we have finished the game 100%. So you're probably wondering, what could we possibly do, have left to do in the game? And it's quite a simple answer, really. As you can probably tell, this is a bonus episode where we'll be going through all the stuff that we've unlocked for the game. Now, I will admit I have been through this earlier and I've looked because yes, we haven't missed anything in the game. We don't have anything still to collect. We've completed the game 100%. So what we're going to be doing this episode is going through all of the stuff that we collected and unlocked due to the collectibles, like all of the concept art, the character profiles, and the 2D cinematics. We'll go through that. There's also something called Past Matters. We'll save that for last. And to start off, we'll be going through the memories for the game. And then we'll get through all because obviously we had to collect the memories first. Well, we did collect the memories first, then we done the bottles and the snouts. The bottles will be what we handle next, and then we'll read through the Past Matters section. So, this is all the stuff that this is all the memories that we collected throughout the playthrough that we finished a few months ago. And this should be the last video that gets put on Madness Returns onto the Glitch Hunter channel. Because it's just this is just the only thing we've got left to do, and then we'll be done. So, we'll start off with Alice's memories. There was one Alice memory for each chapter that we played through, and we're going to start this off with the library was a fire trap.
Our lovely library was a fire trap. A conflagration waiting to happen.
So yeah, I'm going to try and give context in this to those that are unaware about Madness Returns or American McGee's Alice. At this point in time, Alice is still thinking she was responsible for the fire that killed the Liddell family, her father Arthur, her mother, and her sister Lizzie. She thought that the library was all of her father's chemicals were to blame, considering he was a photographer. He'd developed an obsession with photography, and that would cause him to keep his photographic chemicals and all that in the library. One spark and it could have went up. The one from chapter 2, the last one in the library.
I was the last one in the library the night of the fire. The log I added to the grate was dead when I went upstairs to bed with Dinah. If it wasn't, I may be responsible for my family's deaths.
Memory number 2, yeah, that's just basically something saying, there was something that I would like to draw your attention to with the American McGee's Alice playthrough that I've done. And that was, in the intro of the game, you see the cat knocking over the bookshelf, the pile of books at the start of it, which causes the fire in a way. But Alice there is certain that the log that she added to the fire was dead. So, if it wasn't, it would have accidentally set the fire, and that would have caused Alice to be a bit guilty about it. Just a quick flashback of them.
Dinah saved my life. I survived because she showed me how to escape. I didn't leave the lamp in the library, and Dinah didn't knock it over. The lamp and Dinah were upstairs when I went to bed. Dinah was in the room with me when the fire started.
Yep, so because people were blaming the cat for knocking over the lamp that caused the fire, and that's Alice realising that it can't have been right because Dinah was upstairs, and it helped, and the cat helped her freaking escape. This is going to give a little bit of context for Alice's sister Lizzie.
Lizzie hated locked rooms. Her room was further from the fire than mine. Smoke could not have killed her. She never locked her door. And besides, she knew another way out of the house. Out of the window. Someone incapacitated or killed Lizzie, then locked her door, then took the lamp downstairs and started the fire to cover up their crime. Their plan was to kill us all.
Yep. That's when Alice starts to realise what's really kind of going on with the plot of the game. Which actually begs a good question. Obviously, with the beginning of the American McGee's Alice, you see the cat knocking over the bookshelf. Yes, I understand the game was developed before Man's Return, so it didn't really go that far into the story. But I'm thinking that maybe the American McGee's Alice opening is a bit of a false memory of Alice's. And she's just now remembering that, yes, it said that Lizzie was dead from smoke inhalation. But she was furthest from the fire than Alice, and she could have got out of the room. Obviously you don't have the whole Lizzie thing in the first American McGee's Alice, because they never mention her, because I think they only gave her a sister in the second game. But that's a little bit of a thing to think about. Maybe the opening of the first Alice game wasn't actually real. It was just Alice's memory of it. And Chapter 5, Centaurs Don't Live in Oxford. Chemicals, the log, the cat, and the fire getting set. And notice that you never actually see the books lock over the lamp in the first American McGee's Alice game.
But I did not start the fire. Centaurs don't live in Oxford, but a certain
Where did centaurs come into it?
I saw him, a preening undergraduate. Now I remember him. That key belongs to Lizzie's room.
Prick. Yes, that is Angus Bumby, the one who sexually assaulted Lizzie. I refuse to say the R word. Killed her, locked her door, set the fire in the house, and tried to kill every member of the Little family. Why would he do that though? Because he was a student of her father. If Arthur survived that and realised that Bumby was the one who'd done it, he'd kill him. Right, and speaking of Bumby, we will move on to his memories. There was 16 of these in the game, and
a flower's purpose is simple and immutable. Human purpose is fickle, because it is a slave to memory. Memories must be strictly managed, Alice. Unproductive ones must be eliminated.
Right, and as you've kind of clearly been able to put together for the fact that I've been going into the story in that was... This is going to be a spoiler-heavy episode, so I'm going to explain this I think you've just finished the playthrough itself. So, unproductive ones must be eliminated. What I think that means is by unproductive memories, he means everything that makes you remember what kind of person you are. Because as we recall from the playthrough, Bumby was all about brainwashing children into prostitution, making them forget who they were, and just making them nothing but they were nothing more than property for the scum of London. So I think that's what he meant by unproductive memories, basically everything that made a person who they are. Sick fuck.
The railway running through
Upsets to
Wonderland
ear and eye.
sounds charming, but inefficient. Noise and smoke, like snips and snails, perhaps. Best to forget that train. A mock turtle as conductor? Oh, no, I don't think that will do at all.
Probably the inspiration for the Infernal Train, thinking the Looking Glass line's a bit ineffective. We need a train that can go anywhere in Wonderland. And I think that'll be the first seed of him seeding his ruin into Wonderland. Insects
Some
eat their own.
insects eat their young, Alice. They have much to teach us, alive or dead.
Live or dead? I'm not sure what they can really... I'm not really sure what you can glean from that one. If you guys think of anything, let me know in the comments, but I really can't think of anything for insects eat their young. That was the Chapter 1 memories. I remember that one of them gave me a bit of a problem in getting, I can't really remember what one it was, but we'll leave Chapter 1 behind and we'll go into Chapter 2. The ship
Grave
sinks
news.
in Arctic.
The ship was crushed and her crew lost. She was not built for navigating the Arctic ice fields. The recent competition of governments in fitting out polar expeditions is a needless waste of human life.
That's what you view as a needless waste of human life? Really? You
Unpleasantness, remote
Leaving
from
one's
time and
troubles.
space, has only as much power as vivid memory offers it.
Unpleasantness, remote in time and space, is only much power as memory offers it. Basically, Bumby trying to get Alice to accept that, yeah, she's going to be miserable if she keeps accepting the past, maybe? I don't know. Time trumps
Troubles and
memory.
torments at a distance where they may be easily forgotten.
Probably trying to lower the children's guard by saying, keep what's giving you trouble at a distance. Like, forget about it, and by extension, that'll cause them to forget about what makes them who they are. That guy
What
on
Nurse
fire.
Whitless said was, "The fire whooshed in, lit her up like the guy on Cracker Night. No one knows how she survived except Alice, and she's stum, remember?"
Getting into a bit of a Witless thing. I don't know, we'll have to look at Pris Witless's memories 2 sections from now. So maybe we'll be able to get a bit of insight on that later. Flush
Flush
away
the
pain.
unpleasant from your mind, Alice. Reject the painful as you would the repulsive and depraved. Forgetting is an art.
Again, with the whole clear your mind to become his little puppets, I believe would be the
Lovers
best way
often
to
exchange a lock of
dolls.
hair to symbolize their vows. The human heart is opened by a vast assortment of keys.
Keys. Yeah, you took a key from Lizzie's room, but don't think that's as metaphorical as he was planning to get. And that was chapter 3. On to chapter 4,
Light?
Forgetfulness.
Light is useless if what it illuminates causes pain and suffering. Better to cast such things into the dark depths of Lethe, the river of forgetfulness.
Probably just shut out the light of Wonderland and start accepting the darkness of ruin, maybe.
Balance is the golden mean
Golden
of
mean.
all things, Alice. Between light and dark, between disease and health, or even between wrong and right.
Yeah, but for you there is no balance, is there? You went, oh, there's a balance between right and wrong, but you clearly went for the wrong. Season for all
Everything
things.
has a season, Alice. A flower blooms and fades away. Memories, too, have a useful life. We should eliminate the ones that hurt.
again, that's just him saying all the memories of the fire and what makes Alice, are like holding her back and say, right, get rid of them then. Right, that was chapter 4, on to chapter 5, and this is the most Bumby memories we got. Defining
Damaged
a leech.
people feed on the emotions of others, Alice. Their strengths and weaknesses.
Damaged people. Define damaged people. Probably all the traumatized children.
The proofs are legion.
Creature's purpose.
Every creature has a purpose. It is my sacred duty to fit every young person to a calling, be it for ornament or use. Read your history. Read your mythology.
Every young person to their calling, such as a prostitute for London's criminal underworld. Each child's purpose.
Every child has a purpose. It is the beholden duty of knowing adults to fit every young person to her calling.
There. You could have just replaced her with there. You've done it to both genders. And fix what's
Remaking
broken.
children. Build them up, tear them down, refashion them. Teach them the new, forget the old.
And he's basically just saying there's his plan. Break them down, refashion them. Basically, Bumby's memories over the course, say, collecting them through the 5 chapters, are slowly revealing how depraved he really is. How much of a sick bastard he is. Let me just do something right now, guys. Just want to do that. Right. And that'll be Bumby's memories. We'll leave them behind. Right, this is going to take a long one because this is a long list. The Liddell memories, as you may recall, this one, we managed to get all of them somehow by the end of our first run through. So, this isn't a too bad selection, but a couple of these I'll have to go into a wee bit more
Frog,
detail.
Alice, I swear, you jump so well.
I think the first couple of these were just done to... the first couple of memories from the Liddell list were done to show tutorials and that. For the intermingling of species, Lizzie mentioned being part frog and jumping so well. That ties into the whole floating mechanic that you get in Mans of Tons, where you can just jump about 3 or 4 times. So it's quite an alright mechanic, but that's an alright way to kind of tie it in. Parental palpitations.
If you leap from that table again, Alice, I'll expire. You're 2 times too reckless, my girl.
I think that was to do something with the floating. 10 times too reckless.
Amanita muscaria, Alice, is merely a stinky
When what reeks can
toadstool.
kill.
A spongy consistency, but poisonous.
That was so the first 3 were Lizzie, her mother, and her father. When what reeks can kill, about the Amanita muscaria. I believe that might tie into the mushrooms that propel us to the slides in each chapter. One by one,
We'll
self-revealed.
never have more fun alone than when I rode the big slide in Hyde Park. Papa will take you soon, Alice.
I think that will tie into the... I think that one ties into the slides that you get in each chapter. So I think these first 5 maybe tied into the game mechanics. I'm not too sure. Nearly an indecency.
Lizzie, remember when a burst of steam blew your dress up around your neck? Just outside Harrods it was. Fortunate your undergarments had been laundered.
Yep, that ties into the steam vents that propel Alice up to new areas, which were also in the original American McGee's Alice game. So that's not too bad. No key to
My
my
heart
heart.
is open, Alice. Never closed. Never locked. It needs no key.
Could that be with the keyholes, maybe? Not too sure. Because obviously there's keyholes throughout the game that you can shrink into to either progress through the stage or get bonuses like Radula ribbons or whatever. Rock
Bricks
of Gibraltar.
are rocks, Alice. A brick house, like Gibraltar, is impervious to fire, weather, and the indecencies of Barbary macaques, should the need arise.
Fires. Fire doesn't work on brick houses. So why was yours made out of wood? You probably would have saved yourself a bit of money though. Roast in our beds.
We'll all roast in our beds, Alice, for the sake of your father's unnatural devotion to printed paper. Spark and poof, our flesh and blood is smoke and ash.
I don't need to explain anything there. The fucking mother thought right. The fucking mother called it. She said, "You will all turn to ash. You will all be roasted in our beds alive if, due to your father's obsession with printing." It ended up coming true. Yes, it wasn't the devotion to the paper that caused the fire, but still, they roast it. A trip
With
to
gas
Brighton.
laid on, Alice, we'll go to Brighton on what we save on beeswax, candles and oil.
Yes, but it probably would have saved your lives a little bit. Right. Just making sure how many we've got left in chapter 1. Cursing the darkness.
Remember, Alice, don't curse the darkness or the cold when you're in the library at night.
Not sure how that ties in, but yeah, probably just some fatherly wisdom. Sleeping birds
Cover its
lie.
cage and the canary goes to sleep, Alice. Out like a snuffed candle. Sleeps the sleep of the just. Like Mama and Papa. After 10, they're unconscious.
Probably saying that they only woke up because of the smell of smoke of the fire. Because after 10, it would have just been too late for them. Been easy for them it's probably how Bubby managed to sneak into the house, to be honest with you. Because nobody would fucking hear him. Lethal
Papa, your
smells.
enthusiasm for photography makes the library smell like rotted fruit. And I'm certain these solutions are toxic.
The smell of burning chemicals would poison anyone who managed to make it into the library to try and stop the fire. So, yeah, that's a bit of a dark one. And finally, Tupper's
Whoever
tragedy.
said there is no book so bad but something good may be found in it never read Martin Farquhar Tupper's Proverbial Philosophy.
Sorry, can I
Whoever
have that one again?
said there is no book so
there's
bad
no
but
book
something
so
good
bad
may be
but
found in
something
it
good.
never read Martin Farquhar Tupper's Proverbial Philosophy.
No idea how that would tie in. Again, you'd have to give me a wee bit of help in that one, guys. Chapter 2, Photographic Memory.
I'm pleased you love my sea creatures, Alice. Photographs are a kind of imitation. A great painter captures a true likeness. The camera helps an amateur come close.
Probably just to explain how many different sea creatures you see in the Deluded Depths and Barrow Bottom and all that, maybe? Domestic
Most
dust-ups.
theatricals and gaffs are unsuitable for young persons. Punch and Judy dust-ups are no more than vulgar domestic arguments.
Okay. Wisdom of
Whoever
the Ages.
destroys a soul destroys the world. There is much wisdom in that, Alice.
Is there? Chapter 3. Oh Christ, this is a lot. Right. Smoking on the
I've
sky.
smoked a cigarette, Alice. No fun at all. One day I'll try a clay pipe.
Showing that Lizzie was probably a little bit reckless too. The pathetic
Lord
sailor.
Dodgson is a pathetic sailor and an even worse captain. We'd have run aground on the Isis if I hadn't taken an oar.
That may have tied into Bumby's thing about the ship, to be honest with you. Obviously they said that the ship went freaking crashed and crashed a while back. Maybe that was something to do with that. Maybe the ship crashed and they would have died if Lizzie hadn't intervened.
We'll
Nightlight.
keep just the one lamp, Alice, as a nightlight, but it stays in the upstairs hall and only till you turn 12.
She never managed to make it to 12, did she? Damn, yeah, she didn't make it to 12. She made it to like 9 before that. But that lamp got used to take out a family. Music must soothe.
Music soothes the savage in us, Alice. Practice. The piano's for more than holding down the carpet.
Apparently Alice was quite musically disinclined. Naughty
When
times
Papa
2.
grounded me, I climbed down the trellis. The tree branch makes a bridge, and it's not much of a drop. Keep our secret, Alice, or we're not sisters.
Why would you climb down the trellis? What did you do to cause him to ground you? A desperate
Fire, Alice!
feat.
Fire!
Save yourself! Wake up, Lizzie! Lizzie! Open the door!
The key, Lizzie! Unlock the door! You'll burn!
I don't think I need to say anything. That was probably during the night of the fire that fucking the parents and Alice and that trying to get to Lizzie to help her. She was already dead. Suffer for art's
Regrettably,
sake.
the creature has to die for its image to be properly captured. The subjects of art often suffer.
True, very true. Why have I got a feeling that ties back to Bumby's treatment of Alice in some way? Incident at
Claimed I'd
Waterloo.
stolen his heart. Trifling with his affections. Creepy sod. Touching me. Told Papa to never invite him to tea again.
Yes, that's when you start to hear about one of fucking Arthur Liddell's students acting a bit predatory towards Lizzie. Keep in mind, Lizzie probably wasn't that much older than Alice at the point in time when this started. Taxidermy
No
forbidden.
bearskin rug before the hearth, no deer antlers on the wall, no taxidermic abominations in the house. Demeans the creature's dignity.
Yet you're talking about killing animals to capture them in photographs. What's the difference? Gun or
A
sword?
weapon's intended function is almost beside the point. Ultimately, it's only as good as the person who wields it.
Point. I will accept that. It's not the weapon. Say you kill someone with a sword, it's not really the sword that kills them, it's you. But what if you use that sword to, like, cut that tree in half that's blocking a road? A weapon can do just as much good as it can harm, and it all depends on the man who wields it. It's also like that, what was that? It takes me to that quote from Game of Thrones from Tyrion. Well, that wee, like, verbal riddle between Varys and Tyrion from Game of Thrones. The whole fucking, a king, a priest, and a rich man. Four of them's a mercenary, and each man asks the guy to kill the other two. Who lives, who dies? Depends on who has the fucking, where the power is believed to reside. Another name for
A
prison.
locked room is little more than a cage. A prison by another name. I despise concealment of any kind.
Lizzie basically admitting that she doesn't keep her door locked, which, if she did that night, it probably would have saved her life. A cry for help.
Us, Alice! Save us, Alice! Don't leave us alone, Alice! Don't abandon us, Alice! Stay with us!
And again, another pleas for help from the fucking Night of the Fire. That's probably saying that don't abandon the mother to, well, don't abandon the parents, and you could probably survive. They didn't. Alice did. The
Once
ladies'
the bounder
washroom.
followed me into the ladies at Waterloo Station. I had to call the attendant.
Jesus, Bumby was getting a bit too creepy with Lizzie there. Slimy
His
like
hand
an
was
eel.
slimy, Alice. Like an eel from the Isis. And his name won't help. Bumby. If he ever qualifies, his bedside manner will require improvement.
Yep. That's Lizzie just admitting that it's Bumby that was acting as the predator around about her. And to be honest, it's part of that why I don't like Bumby. I laugh every time he gets shoved in front of that train. One
You're
life
not
to live.
a cat, my dear. One life is your allotment. Please be more careful with the carving knife.
Okay. Probably just saying that Alice is a bit too reckless when it comes to swinging a blade.
All
Bunch
those
of toadies.
undergraduates waiting for a word from Papa. Might I hold the tea cosy, sir? Might I pour, sir? Bunch of toadies.
Clearly, Lizzie wasn't a fan of all the undergraduates. No
My
time
father
for
would wish
tears.
that you hold your tears, girls. He lived a long life, and as the poet says, like a clock worn out with eating time, the wheels of weary life at last stood still.
Probably just an old-timey equivalent of always keep moving forward, don't dwell on the past. Not
I'm
a
no
toy.
toy. He wanted me to do things I didn't want to do.
I admire Lizzie for fucking being that strong. Usually with some folk, especially back in those days, women weren't exactly the best treated. So to give her the fucking strength to fight back, props to you, American McGee. Right, moving on to Pris Witless. Now you may recall that there was one that there was a memory that Bumby had earlier that mentioned Witless about fire, the man on fire. I'm not sure. So we'll see if it ties in any way.
It could have
We'll start with
happened
chapter 1,
that way,
spontaneous
Alice.
combustion.
You remember poor Mr. Crook died, didn't he?
That says Cook, not Crook.
Dr. Wilson rejects spontaneous combustion, but I trust Mr. Dickens.
Yes, spontaneous human combustion is a thing. Very, low rate of documentation, but it has happened. But there's also the fact that she says she trusts Mr. Dickens, a fiction author, rather than someone who takes pride in science and numbers, math, reckless obstinance.
I
fucking
know
realise what that
you
word means.
hear me, you contrary child. Use the bedpan and let go of that wretched rabbit.
Maybe she knew that Alice was somewhat conscious during her time in Rutledge, because obviously Pris Witless did used to take care of her at the asylum. A pitiful
So I
waste.
says to Dr. Bumby, I says, model making's all fine and good, but a waste of a perfectly good bottle. I could fill it with gin for threepence.
Two things. A, her fucking nose is massive, and B, is that how desperate you are for a drink? Chapter 3, Ode to Blistered
Skin
Skin.
burned by fire or scalded by steam looks wrinkled like a toadstool in winter.
She's got a lot of knowledge on people burning, doesn't she? A medical
Certain
opinion.
smells are one-off. You'd never mistake burning human flesh for roasting a lamb chop.
Proving my point! What the fuck? Cold Madame
Born in
Defarge.
the wrong century I was, Alice. Picture me, Madame Defarge, knitting away as deserving heads roll from the guillotine. Ah, those were good days.
So you'd want to be knitting away as folk were getting beheaded, probably on the Assassin's Creed Unity playthrough. Are you mad? Clearly this is someone who doesn't have people's best interests at heart, only herself. A persuasive
Dr.
teacher.
Wilson's not fooled, Alice. Discipline must be maintained. Cleanliness is optional. Whatever you've imagined about electrical current, it's not half of it. It can be a persuasive teacher, strict mind, demanding.
What the fuck? Wait, that's a nice way to put a fucking fear of God into someone, especially someone who's an asylum patient. Soul of
There's
practicality.
a tool for every task. Even the humble funnel has a special job. How would you get gin from a barrel into a bottle?
Couple of things I'm realising from this. She's got an obsession with fucking burning people alive. She's not exactly the nicest fucking person around with the whole treatment of Alice as a patient at Rutledge, as well as wanting to be someone, a madam of sort, while people are getting beheaded, and she's an alcoholic. Fair play. Right, we'll move on to Dr. Wilson, who took care of Alice during her time in Rutledge
Look
Asylum.
how small she's become, all curled
The
up.
desire
She's
to
barely
disappear.
there, a vixen in her hidey hole.
That ties into the shrinking, I believe, and the shrinking ability that you get in Man's Returns, as well as the fact that probably how fucking all the times that Alice would probably try and avoid the treatment that he gave her, because from what I've read, he's not exactly the nicest guy. Take flight or fight.
Flight implies a permanent choice, but flight often just means putting off the fight to another day. Choose your battles wisely, Alice.
Choose your battles wisely. Well, you never really get the chance to do that in Man's Returns. You're constantly getting put into fights because the game won't let you progress until you kill everything. A lonesome
Alice was
child.
often alone, an interior and lonesome child, I suspect. Her sister, though loving and much loved, was too old to be a playmate.
That's depressing. Come to think of it, Alice just wanted someone to play with, and her sister's just a bit too old. Hey, nothing wrong with that. My sister's a few years younger than me, but I still find time to play with her. Childish
It's been
things.
years now, Alice. Time to put away childish things.
What, such as the rabbit? Got a feeling that was directed at the rabbit that she got, the one that we saw at the start of the original Alice game. Because Alice had this whole thing in Man's Returns about that fucking rabbit. Right. Brittle fish
Epidermis
scales.
was singed to the third layer, and the rest of her skin was as brittle as carp scales.
Question is, who was that? Was that her mother or Lizzie? Because either way, that's fucking gross. It's different
Pets are
friends.
friends and our secret selves, Alice. Your rabbit, too. I'm sure Dinah was a confidant. Always about, wasn't she?
Yes, and that's a bit of a hint towards the next fucking whole Dinah helped her escape thing. Only one in chapter 3 for Dr. Wilson. A life in chains.
She is certainly ill. She imagines odd things, and she has a hero complex, an inherent desire to help others, being unable to help herself, and a compulsion to make the world right. She's trying to unlock the true meaning of her life, and she doesn't know who has the key.
Bit of a diagnosis on Alice, I assume. Chapter 4. No painless
Games too
sacrifices.
require hard choices. Unpleasant sacrifices must often be made to accomplish a desired goal.
No good deed goes unpunished. Let her eat
Food
cake.
looms large in your dreams, Alice, but cake occupies a special place. Never rejected dessert, I suspect, nor tea if cake was on offer.
Probably just for the whole fucking fact of she loved her heart as tea parties. Beloved
Toys are to children. Children often are to grown-ups. Objects of fancy and imagination, and eventually discarded.
True. Very true. Science
The
versus
gulf
quackery.
separating effective treatment from quackery is narrower than professional opinion would admit. Likewise, the distance between knowledge and ignorance.
Cool. A
The
broken
signs
mind.
of the body's illness or infirmity are obvious compared to those of the diseased mind. And the cures? How and when a broken leg heals is clear. Can one heal a broken mind? How does one know if it's healed?
Right, so that was Dr. Wilson. Not too seemed a lot of them were like trying to diagnose Alice or trying to get inside her head, maybe. Yep. Yeah, this should be a quick one. Nanny, 7 memories, 2 for a couple of chapters, 1 for the last two, so yeah, we'll be quick with Nanny. Mock
Finish your
turtle
soup,
soup.
girls. Bovine juveniles gave their all for it.
Yeah, because the mock turtle does kind of look like a cow, doesn't it? Paper pile
Everyone
ignites.
knows the mischief began among your father's mountain of paper, Alice. The real question is how.
Point. The fire obviously did start in the library where, as Alice said in our first memory, it was a conflagration waiting to happen. One spark and that thing goes up. Taste
Pris
for blue
Witless
root.
never saw a bottle of gin she couldn't empty in an hour. Do most anything for threepence and a long taste of blue ruin.
Maybe that's where the name came for the ruin in Wonderland. Blue ruin. And there's nothing she couldn't do. There's nothing she would do for trying to get another bottle. So yikes.
If
Perfect
you
in
spent
practice.
as much time practicing as you do in Wonderland, you'd be the next Sullivan or Gilbert, one of them.
Practicing. What, dancing? Music? Yeah, probably could have trying. You can't take a child out of Wonderland. Oriental artifacts.
Radcliffe asked me in just the once. Odd duck. Very proud of his artifacts. Ming, I think he said. And partial to Tokugawa Japan. Doesn't seem the samurai type, but perhaps that's why.
And seeing I'm someone who kind of doesn't really research Japan, but does like respect the country a bit. They get the appeal of stuff like that Ming Dynasty from China and the Tokugawa Japan. Not too bad. Pictures tell all.
Every picture tells a story. You wouldn't tolerate a book without pictures when you were a girl.
Pictures tell 1,000 words.
It's
Cutlery
well
and the
known
devil.
that he who eats with the devil must have a very long spoon.
Why? What is the meaning of that saying? Right, and Radcliffe. 12 memories. One industrious
The
suffering.
industry thrives on suffering, obsolescence, and ruination, Alice. It's made the East End into a privy. Consider a simple farm life in Australia, perhaps. We might liquidate what remains of your inheritance.
Yeah, because I think he had like a above average interest in the Liddell's estate. And especially Alice's inheritance, which is a bit dickish, mate. You're supposed to be helping. Grotesque headgear.
Scoundrels fitted with grotesque headgear. If I have ever owned an accessory that unseemly, I'd burn it. Destroy all evidence of it and deny its existence. I value my reputation.
And that's the main reason why I don't like you. I hate folk who fucking go, oh, I've got a reputation to maintain. No, you don't. You're the same as the rest of us. It's what, like all the pompous pricks nowadays that go, oh, I look down my nose at the middle class, and I'm thinking, well, middle, working, poor, we all bleed the same when we're fucking down on the ground. That's a dark way of looking at it, but it's true. Macabre
Not burned
speculation.
beyond recognition, as I recall. It was the smoke, you see. One day you'll be joining them in the Oxford family vault, I imagine.
Oh, aye, that's what you tell to that's what you say to a grieving child who's just lost her parents and her sister. Oh yeah, don't worry, you'll be joining them someday. What the fuck, Radcliffe? Brick homes do burn. Also, this could be a contradictory statement to
Odd
her father's
indeed.
memory.
Unusual, perhaps. Even extraordinary. But nearly nothing is unique, Alice. Yours was not the first brick home to be destroyed by fire.
And as much as I hate to admit it, I have to concede that point to him. While Arthur Liddell did say that brick homes are impervious to fire damage, it does happen. Fire does burn a lot, and if it's hot enough, it could melt the brick. Jesus Christ.
Catastrophe
Accidents do
may
happen.
strike even the best regulated families, Miss Little. Of course, one family's disaster may be another family's opportunity. And the same goes for a surviving family member, if you know what I mean.
Catastrophe may strike even the best prepared families. True, again, this is going back to what I said about the rich people nowadays. Rich people like to think that they are impervious, that the world can't touch them. All it takes is one wrong spark, and all it takes is one thing to go wrong, and it just starts like snowball effect. Aesthetic
Whoever
opinion.
said true art serves neither ornament nor use is ignorant of the aesthetic of the East.
Okay, that's fair. The Eastern world does have like some of the best examples of art I've ever seen, and they do make for good ornaments. Memorial memory. Jesus, try saying that 3 times.
A
fast when
dutiful,
you're bished.
honourable daughter would commemorate her deceased family in marble. I know a gifted sculptor with whom I might negotiate a commission.
So you're offering the idea to Alice to immortalise her family in marble. Again, a grieving child. What do you think that is going to do to them? It's going to mess them up.
The
Conflagration's
conflagration's point of origin was obvious. First, the library caught fire, and it spread disastrously when the gas line exploded.
If the fire was only in the library, it would have been fine, but if a gas line exploded, then yeah, that would cause a bit of damage, wouldn't it? Then why wasn't there a fucking gaping hole in the side of the house? If there was a gas line explosion, Alice shouldn't have got out, unless it blew up after she got out the window. Monarchical
I do
doubts.
support the monarchy, in principle. I'm sure the Queen is very good at what she does, whatever that is. But is she not a person, just like ourselves?
Thank you, proving my point.
Lovely
caskets.
service, beautiful music, closed caskets, though I'm told your sister could have shown to advantage. The flames never got to her.
No, because she was spared from the fire, wasn't she? She was killed after getting sexually assaulted. An
I was
executor's
required
duty.
to identify your family in the Oxford morgue. Your sister was completely recognizable. I can't say the same for your parents.
Jesus Christ, mate. Really? Guilty
The
and
undiscovered
innocent.
guilty and the wronged innocent share similar fates. Prisons and chains have many forms.
Yes, they do. And that is the last of the memories. So, we'll leave the memory section behind and we'll go to extra content. Because obviously this is just as for those of you who have forgotten, due to me just going through those memories, we are 46 minutes in and we are just getting to the extra content menu because that was a long time for the fucking memories. Right, so we'll start with the theatricals. Right, so we're going to start with, there's 21 of these to go through. And we're going to start with chapter 1. This is a long one, if I remember correctly. So I apologise in advance for this one, but here we go. Dr. Bombay states his case. This was the first cutscene in the game, if I remember correctly. Nice, they're actually timing it to the beat of the music.
Come now, Alice. It's only a dream.
It's not a dream, it's a memory. And it makes me sick.
Now, focus.
That's a...
Wait.
That was a fucking...
Floating again.
Adaptation of the
Witness.
first, like, beta
cipher.
trailer from... No, the first trailer for the American News Alice game. Nice.
I'm in hell.
Forget it. Abandon that memory. It's unproductive. Go to Wonderland.
Wonderland.
I can't. I'm trapped.
Centers.
My past.
Sergeant, this girl's badly hurt. Call for a doctor.
No, Alice. Discard
Notice the
that
wee Jabberwock
illusion.
there in
Forget
front
it.
of the house.
Go to Wonderland.
Wonderland.
I'd rather not, Doctor. My Wonderland's shattered. It's dead to me.
Your preference doesn't signify, girl. Now, Alice, where are you?
I'm sailing with a friend. It's different somehow. Things have changed.
Change is good. It's the first link in the chain of forgetting.
What's happening? Are you mad?
I'm not mad.
Rabbit,
That's not right.
Like that's the
Continue.
first thing you said. Are
is
you
something
mad?
wrong?
Something wrong?
That!
Don't struggle, Alice. Let the new Wonderland emerge.
Rude.
Corruption? It's killing me. Wonderland is destroyed. My mind is in ruins.
Forget it, Alice. Block that dream. Wake at the sound.
Well, that's certainly fucking traumatic. What is it about American McGee and having traumatic openings to his games? Because there was obviously American McGee's Alice, where you literally hear the sounds of Mr. and Mrs. Little as they burn alive, and then there's that. Ex-Nurse Whitley sounds off again.
Still a mess. No surprise. Her kin roasted like chestnuts right before her eyes. 10 years in Rutledge Asylum wasted everyone's time. Dr. Bumby won't do better. Still hauling out her questions. The fire, her
I apologise for the
memory.
background music.
Deserve consideration, don't I? Who found her new clothes? Who got her a place at Bumby's? Where'd she be without me?
I don't
On
like
the
his 2D
street,
animations
selling
here.
her backside. Likes my pigeons, though. She's doled out the odd pound or two. But what I know's worth more than that. Kept her secret, haven't I? Heard her say, "Oh, died on my account, I couldn't save you." I've told her my silence is for sale. Keep. I'm a good sort, really. Not like her nanny, that uppity whore. Or that lawyer fellow Radcliffe took
Jack
a stupid
Splattered.
rabbit. Need money. Warned her I'd tell the coppers if she
So
didn't
he
make
took
a
the fucking-
donation to my upkeep.
So Radcliffe
She
took a rabbit
yells
for
and
him?
goes off her head. Days she can't remember her name, what I heard.
Jesus Christ. Now, that one was a bit of a glitch, considering the fact that the audio kept playing there. Hatter's perfidy put paid to finally.
Oh, my precious domain. And the guests. All I really wanted was another tea party.
Please, Hatter, you promised. Where is that train going? What's its purpose? Tell me, now.
There's no time for whatever it is you want to talk about. It's time for tea. Talk trees with Turkey. He ran the Looking Glass line. Come on, you lot. We can still be friends. Got a fine Darjeeling. Drink.
My memories are shattered.
He's lost them.
I'm trying to collect the pieces, and I now believe the train impedes me. You must help me. You promised.
Ask the one who helped them what else themselves. Whoever that is.
Very pitiful.
Jesus.
He deserved to die. And I'm about to drown in tea, in ignorance.
Okay. And I believe that... Hold on just a second. Let me check something. And this is yep. We're already seen that. Don't need to see it. Because that's just Alice's first memory again. Mock Turtle muses on coming menace.
Confounded
Shipwreck sharks.
They want my ship.
I think you're more to their taste.
Never. We're almost relatives.
You're related to Soup.
Related to soup.
I don't know, dear. We'll leave this mayhem and go to Carpenter's show. It's better than Gaff. Carpenter promises if we don't take seriously can't harm us.
Best dive now, Admiral, or the sharks will have us for lunch.
Very nicely done, these scenes. Whoa! The world according to a shipless soul.
Sacked from the railroad without the option. Redundant, the nitwit said. Never a holiday. Loyal as a bulldog. Going in a different direction, my Aunt Fanny, if I had one. Going off the rails more like. Bloody disaster. Now I'm shipless. The old railroad's dead. And this new thing's a monstrosity. It never runs on time. Engineers asleep at the switch. What I don't know about it can't hurt me. Say no more. Nod's as good as a wink.
Okay. Carpenter sets a groaning table.
The munificent script needs fetching. The writer's overly imaginative and exploring several endings. Then you'll need to assemble the show's tune-deft music. And finally, gather our stars! The show's tasteful performers. You should leave now. The essentiality of haste is essential.
Okay, that's just the quest that fucking Alice gets given by the Carpenter for the fucking most of chapter 2. Walrus Steel Show.
This life is full of random deaths and heaps of ruthless shame. So few are soothed by accident, you want someone to blame. Fire, plague, and strange disease, drowned, murdered, or if you please, a long fall down the basement stairs. None are expected, no one cares. I often must work very hard, sweat running down my skin. After the dance, I then must rest, and the eating can begin.
Because they're murderers, basically. The train's arrival, right on schedule.
Time to eat. Death is the ultimate equalizer. All have the right to be eaten.
Get a knife, princess. Don't push. All will be served.
So to speak.
Wicked thing! Feasting while Wonderland is destroyed.
I'm not the enemy you seek, Alice. I tried to hide this bit of Wonderland from that beast. Appeasement's never clean. We must all play our assigned roles. Are you a pawn or a queen? An idiot or a practiced fool? However this turns out, consider the prospect that you've been misled, Alice. Then ask, by whom?
No! Who set that bloody train in motion? Where has it come from?
It arrived when you arrived, and it's more horrible even than you could currently imagine. The death of a dream caterpillar may know how.
So yeah, the carpenter was just trying to hide Wonderland for the Infernal Train. And Alice brought it. That's just the next memory, isn't it? Yes. A sadder, barely wise
Well, at least
point
she's not
of view.
spewing that asylum nonsense. My past is dead, I killed them, I should have saved them, I should have died. Her mind was in shambles. Radcliffe thought familiar faces would bring her round. After a year, he lost interest in her inheritance, greedy sod. Still, always asking his bizarre questions. Heavy dose of madness, I'd say, but honesty's never the best policy in this life. When she wasn't comatose, she gaped, eyes like pinwheels, drooled, occasionally screeched. Never uttered a sensible sound. And like the child she was, she kept her secrets close.
Okay. It would help if these had subtitles so I could actually fucking read, because this is getting very fucking loud. Stubborn self-interest trumped empathy.
In a huff as usual, oozing with attitude and accusatory flummery, I've stolen her rabbit. Ridiculous pretext. She's here about the fire again. All the mad child wants to talk about. My report found her family dead by misadventure. She won't accept it. It goes on and on about her killing memories and her need to know the truth. The alleged truth is, the fire began in the library when the cat knocked over a lamp. The blaze trapped her parents and sister upstairs. Sister Lizzie never even unlocked her door. Died in her bed. The guilty cat always sets her off. She denies it, makes no sense, it can't be, etc. Agreed. And from the outset, Alice was my candidate for the pyromaniac. The girl had a fixation with fire. And I once remarked that I thought she might have had a larger role in causing the tragedy. She suffered some sort of psychotic episode.
Jesus. The trouble with metamorphosis.
How can she stem this growing corruption or assess my search? What does she know that I don't?
She is someone you once knew and loved. Time changes us all.
Not all change is good.
Remember that when you find the Queen.
And that's when Alice wakes up in the police station. The sorry state of police procedure.
Same night Jack Splatter, that waste of mother's love, was nabbed for gutting that heavy outside a mermaid. Yeah, I was taking Alice down.
Because he killed
we
that
meet two
boy outside
coppers walking Jack to the
Van Shark's
cells.
place, didn't he?
He's mad than the usual I never. Wrong bloke nonsense when he sees Alice. That's the bitch what done it, he yells. She screams, you miserable cur, you leech, you maggot, living off another's labour, etc., etc. I'm admiring her line of inquiry, but suddenly she hits her head or something and faints. Couldn't send her home, could I?
Which makes me think, what does Alice look like when she's adventuring in Wonderland inside her head? Does she just go around fucking swinging shit in real life? Method and madness and vice versa.
There is no method in this madness.
My professional opinion, madness is often a treatable disease, though perhaps not in this case.
Authority must be obeyed, or it must must be overthrown. Cruel to be kind, that's my technique, as they say. But she's as mad as a hatter, poor dearie.
Worst is over, and over, and over. Forget it, Alice. Forget it.
Okay. Lizzie's hatred for locked rooms, no centuries. Live in Oxford, never did. Yeah. Hatter's Furious Natter.
Everything's a nail, is it, Miss Hammerhead? First it was all search, freighted with fear and fragmented memories. Now it's the train. Never time for tea. While your brain's on holiday, we're ruined.
Dormouse and Marcio are still
mad here. That's a good excuse for going to hell in a teapot, but not for forgetting what your senses saw. Forgetting is just forgetting. Except
did he decapitate the Mad Hatter again?
Call it something else. I'd like to forget what you did. I've tried, but I can't.
Obviously, this is after the Dogmaker's been revealed to be Angus Bumby's incarnation. An entire
I know I'm guilty of something, but punishment never suits the victims of the crime.
Abuse is a crime the strong visit on the weak. You're right, abusers are insufficiently punished for the damage they do. Those who witness abuse without seeking retribution for the harm pay a penalty. Your own pain mitigates your failure to act earlier, but you may not yet have paid enough for witnessing the pain of others.
So yeah, Alice was supposed to be a maid of at Houndsditch Home for Wayward Youth, and she was supposed to be looking after the children. Didn't even click that Bumby was making them into prostitutes.
Madness and destruction. You shouldn't ask questions you know the answer to. It's not polite. And that noise wasn't Lizzie talking in her sleep.
Oh, no! Oh, poor Lizzie!
And there are no centaurs.
It was like 5 seconds, with fuck's sake, is that how long it lasted?
Survival means something, or we are all doomed!
That was contentious confab with authority. Right, that's the theatricals done. How about we look at the concept art? Right, this is all the ones that we got for the gold bottles. Now, you may recall that the gold bottles glitched a couple of points, but we managed to get them all and we've got all the concept art anyway, so let's have a look. So we've got some concept art here for what looks like the inside of the Mad Hatter's domain. And I don't know if this would have been like... No, I'm guessing it would have been bits you would have travelled through, considering the lift on the right side. Maybe it would have... Maybe you would have had to assemble this bit, and in doing so reactivate some of the machinery. I'm not too sure. But I do like some of this. I do like the idea of that. This looks to be one of the floating clocks you see in... If not the Hatter's domain itself. Maybe something close to the... outside, like maybe one of those floating bits you see outside the domain, just out of render distance and that. So it would have been quite good to explore some of this, but maybe a bit of concept art for the oh, this is the progression through the domain. Assemblage and destruction. That might be cranking up, pressing down. That might be smelling and regurgitating. So yeah, that's just like a general map of following Alice's progression through the Hatter's domain. Not too bad, but I do like that they even include next at the front door. If you turn right, if you look to the right, you're just seeing the gears and the platforms there going off to the side. Just a better looking bit of concept art for a building with clocks and that. Not too bad. Like that fade out. House on the left, that would, well, I say house, but the faded like mansion thing on the left, that's kind of what I was talking about with back in this one. Maybe it's just something that's floating off in the distance. That looks like the bit that you, after you meet the Mad Hatter, you go up to, and it's the two trams, well, I see teacup trams at the sides that go to cranking up and pressing down and smelling and regurgitating. That looks to be an early concept art for that bit. I may be wrong, but it's not too bad. This just looks like a completely different... I think there might have been a section that's based on the tea table, or the Mad Hatter's tea party, and that was probably what this was, but they removed it. I do like the picture of Alice jumping, like mid-jump there. That's quite good. They even went so far as to give the details on the plates too, so that's, they gain the respect from me for that. Sailing in a teacup down. Maybe this was meant to be a puzzle bit that you could have done, where the tea keeps continuously flowing and you have to, like, the fact that you've got like pipes here that remind me of games like this, like mini games, you'd flip them around to make a certain path, and you hop in a teacup and just ride it down. Would have been quite interesting. That seems to be something similar, just less with riding the tea and more avoiding it. You want to make yourself a path through the tea maze there. Now we're into chapter 2 in the Deluded Depths. Give me a second, my laptop is just timed out on me. Open up. Damn it, come on, laptop, thank you. Right, I didn't need this. Oh no, it did. Right, I apologise there, guys. Laptop just timed out on me. Right, so what we're looking at here, maybe my guess is either a ship that you would have explored as part of the quest to redeem the lost souls of the pirates in chapter 2, if not Admiral's ship. No, that can't be the Admiral's ship. The Admiral's ship's the Griffin. Yeah, I'd say that would be something to do with the lost souls. Maybe. This is the map. When you get past the first section of the Deluded Depths, you obviously kick about in the ship Griffin for a while. So you've got the map starting up at the top left here, and all through it, you've going through here. Don't know what that squid with the eye in that is about, because I don't recall ever seeing that in my playthrough. You're going through the fucking bit there, into Barrow Bottom, into the Carpenter's Theatre, going round through the Lost Souls, to the right there, that sea kelp, that looks to be where you're getting the... Oh no, I'm telling complete fucking shite, never mind. Going back to Barrow Bottom, you go up left, you go to the two bottles, that's where you're looking for the octopus. You're then following the line going to the Tune Death Fish, then I think the two circles there are meant to be the oysters, if not through the kelp. You end up at the Lost Souls graveyard, and then you'll end up at Carpenter's, and that's it. That's where the show ends. Because the Infernal Train barrels into the theatre. That is disturbing. I'm not going to deny that. That is a disturbing image. Why do we need that? I'm quite thankful we didn't find that in chapter 2, because I think I would have wanted to rip my eyeballs out. Nice wee bit of concept art of the bit where Admiral's ship is. Keep going. I do like the moon in this picture, where it's blowing like the Aurora Borealis, like it's smoke. Nice touch. That looks to be Alice going up against a snark, maybe a bigger version of the one that you get, but we never really get to see a big ice snark in action. Looks like there's two in there. This looks to just be a bit of concept art for Barrow Bottom, maybe with the light coming through the top of the seafloor. Is this the Lost Souls graveyard? Looks to be, maybe just overlooking Barrow Bottom. Doesn't look too bad. I do admire the collection of cracked and empty bottles in the bottom left. Maybe that's to do for some kind of dumping the trash into the ocean message, maybe. Yeah, because I remember that in the beta trailer for Mansion Tons, they made it out that you could swim. You never got to do that in this game. It's quite a shame. I would have enjoyed swimming some ways. Looks like you'd have had to dive down to some bits to maybe collect something for the Carpenter's show. This is on to chapter 3, where it's in the Eastern style, because this looks to be one of the areas where you'd enter into the painting, as you can see the shadow of Alice on the wall there. Rather than just stepping into the painting, it looks like you'd maybe interact with that box there, and it would maybe suck you into the box and shoot you into the painting, maybe? Not too sure. Thought it would have been a more believable aspect to it, but then again, this is Wonderland. You're not really meant to believe in a lot of the shit that you get done here. This just seems to be the same kind of map thing that we've been seeing with the eastern level. Just work your way up the mountain, and eventually you'll get to cut the caterpillar's domain. Maybe just some kind of, well, it looks to be some kind of river with a samurai wasp, maybe? Not too sure. Wouldn't really know how to go about describing this one. Not a half bad drawing though. Maybe just a view for maybe an old ship that you could have seen in the Eastern world. It would have been quite good to see some of this stuff, but I understand budget cuts. Origami ants, samurai wasp. I'd say origami ants. Maybe hiding under the trees of the Oriental Grove. Caterpillar's cocoon. I like how in this drawing you've got the caterpillar's pipe just poking into the cocoon. Ooh, I like this. I like this bit of drawing. Just, is this like a floating rock in the middle of the Oriental Grove, or is this meant to be some kind of spiritual place? Like maybe obviously the origami ants revered the caterpillar. Maybe that's where they prayed to him. Maybe a religious spring. Maybe. What's this? I'm not entirely sure what that could be. Maybe caterpillar smoke trail. Follow that up. Or this is the Veil of Doom, isn't it? Yeah, I get that. That's the Veil of Doom. That was the Veil of Doom. This one. The Red King. Maybe would have been imprisoned and you'd need to free him. Either that or Alice has chained them up. But either way, that's quite morbid to come to think of it, looking at it. Especially considering what happened to the White King. And we also saw what happened to the White Queen in the first American McGee's Alice game. Card Bridge, this would have been a early version, or early concept idea for a card bridge. And frankly, I'm quite glad that they didn't go with this angle. The card bridge and that, because yes, you do get the whole card buildings and that with the castles where you have to open the doors and get through them before they close again. I do respect that, but I'm not too sure about this one. It seemed like that would have been too much of a pain. So yeah, this seems to just be the standard again, kind of map for the level of Queensland, but not too sure about this one. Because, to be perfectly honest with you, what throws this off for me, I get this is just concept art, they obviously evolved the idea over time, is the fact that when you turn into giant Alice, like big Alice, the maze is fucking tiny. Very tiny. And you have to start stomping your way up. I can guarantee that Alice would have walked through that in about a minute. Not the near 10 minutes that it takes a normal player to do. Especially considering she's about that kind of size. That's just a basic general concept of the Titan Alice section. Not too bad. I'm not entirely sure what this is. Maybe this is just like to be a section of the Queen's Hall, maybe? Not too sure. Maybe the gates to the labyrinth that you get the Eat Me cake where it causes you to grow up. I will say, very nice detailing on the gate. The artists of this game have my highest respect for this. This is some quality artwork. And it seems like maybe the Queen would have been imprisoned and tortured, and maybe you'd have to free her, or maybe she'd be a boss fight. Which, I would have actually enjoyed to play this. I'm not gonna lie, I would be like fully enjoying playing this. And maybe on the way to her, maybe when you're on the way to like either free her or fight her, maybe out of rage she fights back and days burst out the floor and you have to fight them, or avoid them, maybe you can't attack them. This is what looks like a quick drawing of when the section where Alice is back in the asylum and clad in the straitjacket. Maybe you would have just started like slumping forward like a zombie, just dragging the arms behind you. Would have been quite... It would have been more horrifying, definitely. But I do like the style of that drawing. It looks the... what's the word? Oil pastel, I believe they're called. The doll maker's domain with the infernal train below it. I just noticed that. Nice. Obviously with all the discarded doll segments, and that's where the doll maker resides. Okay. Some beautiful artwork of the dollhouse concept. I like how in some concept arts you see for games, you see like the player character in different sections, like how you would interact with it. Although what I'm liking is in a couple of these segments, like on just after the right section where you see the two Alices, there's one grabbing onto a ledge, and there's one on the left doing the same. Also one up at like the top left Alice calling out the window. What? I would have liked to actually see the whole grabbing onto ledges and pulling yourself up as well as jumping out of windows would maybe have been quite a good gameplay mechanic, but I can understand if that would cause a bit of trouble with the jumping. Because obviously jumping out a window and then floating across to grab onto a ledge to hoist yourself up to maybe even having to float some more would probably have been a bit too much to program, but it would have made the dollhouse platforming a bit more challenging, to be honest with you. Concept art of the doll maker. Pretty much what he ends up like. Maybe his outfit's just a bit different, but it's quite disturbing, come to think of it. And especially considering you see those children on the lines in front of him. Jesus. Infernal train. As far as I can see, the only thing changed from this bit of art, other than the fact that you don't actually venture... Well, you do venture to the front of it, but it gets torn off by a doll maker, is the fact that you never actually step on front of it, like you see that small speck of blue, like Alice is doing, but also, it doesn't run on a track. Yes, you do see it on some tracks in the game, but most of the time the Infernal Train doesn't run on a track, it just runs through the air. The Infernal Children, no, not the Infernal Children, the Insane Children. You've got the leader on the left, and I think that third one, the one in the middle, is the one that's meant to look like... It's meant to be the child that crawls from the lamp towards the lamp in Hyde Park. Just take out the hacksaw. So these were... I think these are meant to represent the children under Bumby's care. It's quite sickening to look at, to be honest with you, because look at that boy on the right. The two boys on the right, Jesus. The inside of the Infernal Train. Not sure what the Beetle's doing there. That's just the doll maker's laboratory. Is that a... Jesus, that's a fetus up there. A gingerbread house. Jesus, there's a fucking gutter. There's a disemboweled doll there. What the hell? Respiratory system. Jesus. This would have been like more stubborn to walk through, especially considering there's a fetus in there. And that's the end of the concept art gallery. Right. Characters. We'll start in chapter 1. Dr. Angus Bumby. The founder of the Houndsditch Home and Refuge for Wayward Youth is my landlord, employer and therapist. A rising star in the philanthropic community, he serves the East End's vast deprived juvenile population. His mantra is, I'm winning the war against depravity, misery and degradation by training my unfortunate patients to forget their pasts. While modesty is not among his attributes, he does important work, because obviously this is back in chapter 1, Alice still trusts the Doctor before he turns out to be a bit of a dick. Pris Witless. Before being sacked from Rutledge Asylum, she was a night nurse on my ward. She mistakenly imagines we're friends on that account. Her addiction to gin has forced her to become a dog's body for a variety of East End practitioners. No errand is too menial or beneath her dignity. Her wages can't support her need to be constantly inebriated. Not sure how she supplements her income, but I'd rather not think about it. Insidious the Ruin, the first enemy we saw in Wonderland. An unnatural and hostile combination of ruined mechanical parts, vomits pollution and slashes through the muck it dispenses. A mindless industrial disease, it oozes grease and organic slime and wields a dangerous weapon. Its unseemly sound and noisome stench completes its menacing aura. An awful head adds to its revolting appearance. It does look disgusting, doesn't it? Bolterfly. What pass for fauna in the Hatter's domain resemble winged crossbow bolts. They nest in the now wrecked machinery of which they are very protective. They become fractious when disturbed, and for dumb creatures they are annoyingly resourceful. Madcaps. The erstwhile guardians of the domain appear to be armed with outsized versions of Hatter's household cutlery. Hatter was never particularly discriminating in his guest list, but I never imagined he had giants for tea. Like many long-time retainers, their loyalty has outlasted their usefulness and their sense. Still, this old guard can be dangerous. Slithering Ruin. It's basically just a black blob. Ruined and repulsive, this reckless waste of protoplasm has as much in common with maggots and leeches as it does with slimy garden slugs. Secretive by nature, surprisingly aggressive when cornered, especially on Nightmare difficulty because they did fuck me up a bit. iPod, speaking of which. These ornately crafted beasts, once the pride of the Hatter's table, seem destined for scrap. Understandably, they're shutty, unsociable, bloody angry, and dangerous. Because the eye is obviously vulnerable, they fire scalding projectiles afar. I think that's supposed to say from afar. But they're not cowards. No, they are certainly not, because those legs can fuck you up. Menacing Ruin, a more perilous version of the insidious Ruin. Every vile and depraved feature of the former has evolved to become more loathsome, foul, and hazardous in the latter. Who could have imagined it? You, Alice. You. Cheshire Cat. I suppose I could admit that he's my alter ego, perfectly willing to give voice to the doubts and fears I'm unable to express. He's usually not courageous enough to demand a terribly rash risk. Of me. By turns cynical, sarcastic, distant, philosophical, flip and earnest, he can render valuable service, as long as he can keep himself out of harm's way. I know he means to help me, but he is, after all, a cat, and they're not known for altruism. No, they most certainly are not. As long as he can keep himself out of harm's way. I do like that addition. He's a cat that can teleport. Although I will admit, I've said it before, I'll say it again. This cat freaks me out. He genuinely freaks me out, just the way he looks. Not to mention, in that picture his front legs are clipping through his back legs. What the hell? White Rabbit. To say I'd follow this demanding creature anywhere might be a romantic exaggeration. We have a history, and the list of places he's led me is long, and the outcomes have not always been happy. A frantic, harried creature, he's manic and occasionally aggressive, but you only ever see him in the Rajla rooms, because he died at the start of the game. Duchess. The Queen of Hearts has an exceptionally unattractive cousin. Well, let's say ugly and move on. She once behaved rudely to me and I had to turn her around, as it were. Now her caring assistance feels threatening. I prefer her old self, then I knew what I was dealing with. Mad Hatter. Once there were always time for tea at the Hatter's place. Wacky they were, all in good fun. Things turned bad when he joined the Queen's service. He received a serious reprimand. Now his undernourished physique is in parts and his crafted mechanical obsessions seem hopeless wreckage. Despite his comeuppance, he's still a bit of a blowhard, but not evil, I think. March Hare. The Hatter's erstwhile tea time companion has somehow turned the tables on his former host. The Hare is mad, of course, but he's not a lunatic, at least I don't think so, despite his menacing palaver. He just seems unnaturally fixated on keeping the Hatter down and making himself a bloody nuisance to me. Yeah, because as you saw in that 2D cutscene at the end of the game, he did have his legs, but this is what the Hatter's done to him. He was massacred, basically. He was brutalised through the story of American McGee's Alice. Dormouse. Dormy is still sleepy, cynical and stupid, a martinet to the March Hare. Imagine how far down the food chain a creature must fall before securing that august position. I'd say his new role as troublemaker had gone to his head, but that would presume he had a brain. Nice wee fucking dig there. Buttlefly. Professor Swan's claims concerning incandescent lighting signal the end of an era for gas lamps and candles, a frightening and insupportable prospect. Insupportable. Funny. Automaton. Now, this is getting into stuff that you don't really see in the game, but you can see in the background. The automaton we do see in the Mad Hatter's domain, because the last bottle or memory pig snout. The last pig snout I had to find, there was an automaton in the background. Hardly more interesting than a cuckoo and a clock, let alone a Talos or a Pandora, but then I'm not Hephaestus. We did see one of these in the background. Cat. This lovely white feline reminded me of Snowdrop, Steiner's rambunctious kitten. I try not to think about her. She'd be an old lady now, if she's alive. Darksnell. I don't think I saw this. The degraded Vale was overpopulated with disgusting creatures, so I dismissed this spiky cephalopod. He feeds on his own regurgitated bile. Dodomech. As if the creature hadn't suffered enough, I imagine the extinct bud kitted out like others in the Mad Hatter's mad and mechanized realm. Footman. Don't recall seeing him. His appearance, formal, and intelligence, modest, were not required from this adventure. He's still a good frog. Mock Sparrow. We did see a couple of these, I think. The Mock Turtle regarded this creature as a threat. He has so little self-confidence, it would have been cruel to bring the bird into the mix. So this is stuff that she remembered but forgot. Snail. This benign being was to keep me company in the Vale of Tears, but the changes there would not have been to his liking. I know for a fact you see that thing in the game. Dodo. Pigs, humans and ravenous macaques all contributed to the extinction of the dodo on its native Mauritius. The very strange bird was once considered a myth, but Clark's reports justified Papa's beliefs that someone or something sated to go the way of the dodo was much more than a rhetorical flourish. Nan Sharp. Always a substantial and independent woman, Nanny taught French and music to Lizzie and me. She taught French. She knows French. Interesting. Disastrous choices in companionship, penury, and an iron-hard sense of pride have led her to a life of not quite squalid prostitution. From her digs at the Mangled Mermaid, she manages a string of professional women on the street. She visited me several times at Rutledge. Okay. Jack Splatter, who I think is a reference to Jack the Ripper. A bully and bad-tempered, congenital criminal. He's built a heinous career on the labour of desperate women. Once Nan Sharp's procurer and self-appointed protector, he runs his sordid trade out of the Mangled Mermaid. Ice Snug. Now this is one that we saw a massive version of in the concept art. Sightless eyes do not inhibit this vile predator from ruling the tundra. Living flesh is no less at risk than carrion. While his parts seem mismatched, his antenna provides protection and his teeth are lethally efficient. Shipwreck Shark. Sailors are rightfully terrified by sharks. The voracious apex predators are notorious for their unpredictable temperaments and indiscriminate appetites. But only wood, if it could, would fear these creatures. Self-made from ruined privateers, clippers and ships of the line, they consume wood to keep body and soul together. I wish they'd eat one another. Mersquid. Don't recall seeing this. Expertly crafted figureheads, mute but proud emblems that once graced a great ship's prow, are furious with their sunken fate. Rather than suffer in silence, they wail their own siren songs and bring down other ships with the anchors, chains and other ballast they've collected. Cannon Crab. Well armed with great size and impregnable carapace and a self-declared honourable mission, this noble crustacean is a formidable foe. One may only hope it has a soft underbelly. Drowned Sailor. Poor souls are eternally conflicted. Necessity sent them to the sea. The economy depends on them, but they do not profit. Reluctant to sail into a 2-year voyage, they are shanghaied. Complain about anything, they are lashed and put on short rations. They are even discouraged from learning how to swim. They trust none but themselves. Their shades do likewise. Colossal Ruin. An infinitely more powerful and undeniably more disgusting manifestation of the menacing ruin. What was formerly foul and detestable is heinous, even monstrous here. The ruin seems relentless. It just keeps getting worse. Mock Turtle. The former master of the railroad is kind but self-absorbed. Weepy and fatalistic with a melancholic disposition, he talks too much. He's not clever but thinks he might be, if he could just summon up the energy to try. Carpenter. This distinctive, sententious master of the malaprop lacks a scintilla of skill in his eponymous trade. Wouldn't know a hammer from a handsaw, appears to have appointed himself lord of the theatrical universe. Given his subjects, I don't suspect there was much resistance. Walrus. If observation is a judge, he's not missed a meal in his life. Pigs at a trough of more dignity, a big hungry creature with nothing on his mind except his outsized appetite and his self-proclaimed reputation as a great thespian. Look at those tusks. Fish couple. Keeping children amused is a priority of indulgent parents the world over. Lucky children. But these two have more in their minds than the family's entertainment. They were odds in their opinions of the carpenter, his character, his creation, and his role in protecting them from corruption. I suppose I'll have to test their credibility. Octopus. The carpenter sent me to collect a script from this Glaswegian lush. He's angry about something but not nasty, over fond of his own opinion but a decent sense of play with some outstanding physical skills, I suspect, if he's ever sober. Music Fish. Divas from Covent Garden to La Scala have jitters before a performance. Expressed as vital, unsatisfiable needs, they preemptively excuse things going badly. By such, the talent tries to isolate itself from failure, which is much more often imagined than real. No excuse, however, will deflect the condemnation deserved by this tone-deaf, talentless, time-serving performer. Jesus, that is savage. Oyster Starlet. Without a script, these perilous theatrical dunces must rely on mangled cliches as a substitute for sensible speech. Actors seem to often forget how to speak spontaneously in their own voices. The Mayor. Like many discredited or discarded politicians, the Mayor seems sufficiently deluded that he refuses to accept rejection as a sign of rejection. I know that denial is a dangerous thing. I don't always behave as if I know. Turtle Chest. Sometimes the treasures you seek are just out of reach, evading your grasp as if they have a mind of their own. Vaguely recall seeing one of them. Yeti. Despite grand and self-serving claims to being the embodiment of unrestrained brutality, mystery and fear, this poor fellow never even rose to the level of abominable. Well, considering that face, look at it. Piranha. Papa's copy of Henry Bates' Amazon Adventures was dog-eared when I found it. The illustrations were thrilling, a school of voracious man-eaters. Imagine. Wilton Ratcliffe, QC. Formerly an Oxford magistrate and my father's solicitor, he is the executor of our family's estate, most of which he claims was consumed by my treatment at religious asylum. An awkward confirmed bachelor. Radcliffe's parents after foreign office postings in Tokyo, Shanghai, perished in the Sepoy Rebellion. He keeps mementos of their lives in the Orient. He's fussy and secretive, but I have little idea what he might be trying to conceal. Mute. This mute had a sufficiently melancholic face and disposition to suit any funeral, but his profession pointed me in unproductive directions and I needed to ignore him. Samurai Wasp. Ravagers, despoilers and murderers, these self-proclaimed samurai have corrupted the aimless and defenceless origami ants' way of life. It's a cruel lie. They've violated the philosophy of that noble warrior class, Bushido. They're merely expert killers who have expropriated the weapons of their namesake, sword, shield and longbow. Unlike true samurai, they protect nothing, are loyal to nothing and have no honour. Samurai Ink Wasp. While not terribly clever, strong or dangerous, there's a seemingly endless supply of soldiers able to support the samurai's mayhem. They remind me of the grubs, they're unpleasantly alike. Lion Chop. Though nearly immobile, I'd argue that this creature's signature manoeuvre is quite enough to terrify a hardened pyromaniac. He uses a healthy fear of fire as an additional weapon. Daimyo Wasp. Though each of the samurai wasps appear to act on their own authority, some fraction of them seem to be of higher rank. More skill with the weapons may give them higher standing in the diseased society. They may give orders to the others. They are, of course, equally reprehensible, perhaps more so. Drifting Ruin. Another arrow in this abomination's bulging quiver of mayhem. It moves faster and it's bigger and it can fly. What's next? Impregnability? Immortality? Who dreamed this up? Again, you, Alice. It's you. Caterpillar. Despite his questionable habits, his uncongenial advice, his stern prickly manner and an aura of pretentious mystery, this wise creature is my personal, directly communicative Delphic oracle. It's not always easy to guess what he means. No, it isn't, because he's always everyone in Wonderland talks absolute madness. Origami ants. They share labour and prize communication. They are socially sophisticated, resourceful and industrious. But the society's health, its very existence, is dependent on the kindness of strangers. Their soldier class is virtually useless against hostile strangers. The impotent must make terrible bargains. I'm sorry, that just snuck up on me. Oh. Jesus, I think I've been eating too much. Oh, fuck. Ow. Oh, Jesus. I think I was talking too much to fucking Oh, that hurt. Apologies for that, guys. I had to rush through that one a wee bit. Pardon me. Right. Origami Ant Elder. Knowledge gathered from experience is often insufficient to forestall tragic consequences. These elders seem to know what must be done to avert disaster, but they aren't able to do it. Origami Ant Monk. Few societies properly value their contemplative, artistic or spiritual members. Action of nearly any description with nearly any outcome is disproportionately valued even by them. Humpty. Well, he did sit on a wall and he fell off, etc. Fancied himself a kind of authority figure, but acted more like security guard at market stall, and in fact couldn't secure his belt. I don't recall seeing Humpty. I really don't. Maybe I'd have to go back through it. This is another one I don't recall seeing. Empress Wasp. She who must be obeyed and continuously fed, evidently. All these so-called samurai in service and sacrifice so she can dine sumptuously. Royalty shares some common traits irrespective of species. Is that a wee bit of a dig at the Red Queen? Oriental Frog. Quite possibly the largest frog I've ever seen. Although maybe that was because I was shrunk by the caterpillar's smoke. Sovereign's indigestion nearly gave me an upset stomach as well. Fred the Cop. Typical Bobby, by the book. What's all this then? Nonsense. Not vicious, not cruel, just not very imaginative or sympathetic. I suppose I don't encourage much. Card Guard. Without weapons, the Queen's reckless guards aren't much more than fodder in a fight. They were never really good with their hands, but this current bout of clawing demands caution. There are so many of them, and they're eager to give up their lives. Even dead, their copper delectating remnants can cause a problem. Armoured Card Guard. The wicked staff they carry makes them dangerous but ponderous. Still, with a heavy weapon to hit its target, they wouldn't need speed to deliver the coup de grace. Executioner. With less intelligence and imagination than a wind-up toy, this brute does the bidding of the Queen. Her creature, its orders out of date, is certain to fall hard when he falls, but until then, he's so much more than a heartache. White King. Amiable, courageous, a bit befuddled, a bit pedantic, loyal, not especially competent, reminds me of Papa. Queen of Hearts. After numerous challenges and defeats, she still shows an ungovernable passion, a blind and aimless fury. She's still a force in Wonderland, even though her desires for unquestioned authority and adherence to her rules have been defeated. She is still power-mad, irrational and irresponsible hypocrite. But she's a part of me too, and not destructible for cause. Chess player. Papa's chessmen were nearly friends to a solitary child. Mr. Radcliffe, outsized, angry in several pieces, poisoned that pleasant memory. Speaking of which, Dr. Wilson had a reputation as a capable and innovative physician, but to me his questions always seemed intrusive, his prod and ill-conceived, his practices dubious best. I don't think he meant me harm, I was a great disappointment to him. Nurse Cratchit. A feeble-minded, mean-spirited toady like many of her ilk, barely suited for emptying bedpans and mopping up vomit. She was no friend to me. Audley Tweedles. The superintendent's repulsive nephews are cruel by disposition and training. Like all bullies, they're potentially dangerous. Fortunately, they're dumb as rocks. I feel like a cough all up on me. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Doll Girl. The female of the species, so to speak, is equally objectionable. The depraved maker played no favourites. Her voluminous clothing appears to conceal more than her body would demand. Bitch babies. To construct a flying, vomiting, killing machine in the guise of four-legged female infant is certainly the proof of a diseased mind, if more proof were needed. Doll maker. This heinous criminal assumed the benign title of a decent craftsman to deceive the world, and perhaps himself. The lie must be exposed, the truth will out, or I will perish. Insane children. Once the hapless tools of my nemesis, these mistreated, insulting and long-suffering juveniles have lost sight and all hope of returning to normal. I know them better than I'd like, and not as well as I should. Insane child leader. If the metaphor has it right, then in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed are kings, there's certainly an analogue among the insane children, though whether their king has assumed our role by virtue of being less insane is debatable. Toy soldiers. It's hardly surprising this fellow couldn't pass muster. He showed himself a timid warrior and unfit for any duty more exacting than watching smoke rise. Doll Boy, never saw this one. Not surprisingly, this jerry-built, nailed-together, malevolent automaton masquerading as a child violates every mother's wise admonition. Her injunction, don't play with scissors, would fall on deaf ears, if he had any. He does, it's right there. He cares nothing for sense, he doesn't have any of that either. I wish I had a hammer. Dog Baby. I recall seeing this, maybe just sitting in the background. This grotesque aberration of nature seemed to have already been incapacitated before I arrived. Perhaps turned on and made a mockery of by its fellow abominations? A tragedy that such lovely ears would be wasted on such a pitiful face. And that's the character gallery. Now, onto the meat of this. This is going to be a very hefty one because we have 6 pages to go through here. Past Matters, this is just basically a story, a backstory on the first American McGee's Alice game, and we'll get started with it. Past Matters. Notes extracted from the casebook of Hieronymus Q. Wilson, MD, Rutledge Asylum. On November 5th, 1863, Alice Little was severely burned in the fire that destroyed her family home in Oxford and took the lives of her parents and her older sister Lizzie. While the girl's seared skin gradually healed during a year of hospitalisation, the trauma caused by her family's horrific demise deepened. The orphan's condition swung from comatose to uncontrollably hysterical and back in the course of a given hour. Learned medical opinion deemed her a danger to herself, and an indefinite term of institutional confinement was ordered. Jesus. At her preliminary examination on Rutledge on November 11th, 1864, Alice presented as deaf, dumb and blind to stimulation. She seemed, in the brutal expression of the practice, in training for the coffin. Only her age saved her from immediate assignment to the notorious Bedlam catacombs. Despite insensible passivity, her preternatural quietness and evident dementia, a course of treatment was prescribed. During the first 6 months of 1865, she was subjected to all the best contemporary remedies without a result. Cold plaster sessions and bloodletting were ineffective and unproductive. Applications of experimental shock apparatus useless. Likewise, a massive dose of laudanum. In a desperate toss, restraints, including a straitjacket, solitary confinement, sensory deprivation, confiscation of a toy rabbit, and cancellation of afternoon tea were tried and failed completely. She would not respond. She did not resist treatment or in any way react to it. She simply ignored it. She shut down completely and shut out the world. Shortly after the diagnosis of demented was confirmed, she fell into a comatose state. Despite her mental infirmity, she appeared physically fit. Staff remained hopeful, not to say optimistic, that she would regain her balance. Her bodily functions were reasonably attended to, but there were pitifully few signs of recovery. Then in the autumn of 73, after 8 years of fitful sleep, Alice spoke by drawing. Her first picture was an alarming cat. But only bouts of angry, incomprehensible screaming and hysterical sobbing followed this dubious opening of communication. She became intermittently convulsive and had to be sedated frequently. From time to time, various medicinal preparations and chemical potions were forcibly administered to little effect, and she required more than verbal encouragement to eat. Something that did look like progress occurred in late November of that year. While her inarticulate mutterings and screams continued, she responded, if not appropriately, at least comprehensively to her surroundings. When grossly assaulted by ward orderlies, the superintendent's imbecilic nephews, Alice, without warning, scarred off one of the twins with a furious attack. She handled her spoon like a knife, and made the other bleed like a stuck pig. But then she turned the makeshift weapon on her own wrists. Fortunately, staff prevented her from doing terrible physical damage to herself, but she regressed to her previous state. Days of silence, sometimes sketching fantastical scenes and characters, spouting senseless poetry, then incomprehensible raving, catatonic trances, and untellable shouts and groans. Suddenly, in spring of this year, there was a change. She began to speak. Civil, then vulgar, declarative, then cryptic speech, in and out of her chaotic, violent, deranged, and terrifying dream world. But the periods of lucidity grew longer, she became confidential. She shared some of her madness, her grief over loss of family and herself, but most often she droned on and on with about fantastical visions. These delusions had no reality, of course, but conversation makes a connection with the world. This was a significant development. Cogent but often disconnected, and to me meaningless talk about Wonderland, tea parties, the fungiferous forest, boojums, jack bombs, snarks, demon dice and Dastly Red Queen was nonetheless encouraging. Though her moods ran the gamut from despondent gloom to vicious anger to confident calm, this was a positive prospect, but the emergence of a normal Alice, a cured Alice, was not to be. Throughout the summer and into the autumn, she seemed to vacillate between fantasy and reality. By October, my own health failing, I recognised I had done everything I was capable of doing for her. After a decade of treatment, having addressed her psychic condition with the full array of our age's therapies, she had emerged from a catatonia, but we didn't know why. I once thought the drug regimen had been effective, now I vigorously doubt it. Reunification with our childhood toy? Turns out that rabbit was a stand-in for the original, which disappeared years ago. Something I said, she did nothing in my command, instruction, entreaty or request. To the extent she was cured, she, I believe, cured herself. As she appeared more or less stable, though plagued by hallucinations that frustrated more than frightened her, I sumcumbed to the superintendent's entreaties. As further cured, doubtful further confinement was deemed a waste of everyone's time. Lacking family and friends but possessed of a small inheritance, she left Rutledge in November, depressed but committed to the struggle for her sanity. Nurse Witless found her a situation with Dr. Bumby, and Alice was released to his care at the Houndsditch Home and Refuge for Wayward Youth in the East End. I wish them both well. Whew! That was definitely a lot of reading there. But that's pretty much it. Now that I come to think of it. An hour and 40 odd minutes in, and we are finished with the gallery. There's nothing to see, like, collectible wise in American McGee's Alice. So that's where we'll have to end that there, guys. I can say in the future there might be maybe in the far future, when we finally manage to get software to edit videos, we may end up recording one more video for Man's Returns, where I try my best to explain the lore of this franchise as best I can. But that's not going to happen for a long time. I only done this video once. Well, I've tried to do this video before, but Twitch was being a bit iffy like a week ago, so I couldn't really do it. But now I've managed to get this done, and now we're on 40 minutes in. We have seen all the stuff we could unlock with the collectibles. So that's where we'll end that there, and I don't know when the next time you'll see me in the Alice series is. Either hopefully Alice Asylum, or if we finally get that story video explained. But until then, thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe, keep on gaming, like, favourite, subscribe if you enjoyed. If you want to see more like this on the channel, consider hitting the notification bell, that way you'll get an update whenever we post a new video. Also consider following us on our social medias, links to those will be in the description as per usual. And from me and Alice Little, for the last time and for a very long while, we'll catch you in the next video. Bye!